Good morning, everyone. Happy Saturday, and welcome to the live chat that we do every single week to talk about the Gold Coast market. I'm Nathan from All Properties Group on the Gold Coast, and obviously the title says a lot. As we returned to a normal market that buyers of the last couple of years, I guess, have been screaming for. They're sick of the competition. They just want the opportunity to buy a home without the fear of missing out. And I think that, to be fair, is probably what we're in right now. The interesting part of this, though, is that finally these buyers have the opportunity to buy at a lesser competitive time than it was during COVID. And we're still finding some hesitation from some buyers expecting bigger drops in the marketplace. The same buyers, more than likely, that for the last 2 years have been screaming that the market was going to drop heavily at some stage. And that was before the market went up 30 to 40% in most areas. And that's something that I want to really touch on today. If you are buying, and I sort of mentioned this last week, but I know for a fact that we're starting to see sellers have meeting the market. So in many of the areas that I'm selling in and around the Gold Coast in those waterfront homes and even those suburban properties around Pimpama at the moment, sellers are happy now to meet the market because they understand that the opportunity to sell and buy in the same marketplace is there. What that means, though, is that we're getting more transactions again. And when there's more transactions, the stock levels, which even during this change is still low, the available stock is staying low at the moment. Even at this change with less buyers out there, there's still less stock available. And the more that sellers meet the market, the more transactions there are, the more confidence that will return to the marketplace. And by the time that a lot of these buyers who have been waiting are ready to jump back in, more than likely we're going to see that confidence level lift and the competition rise once more. And I do genuinely believe that'll happen early next year, where we're going to see competition increase. I know that there's areas that I'm selling in at the moment that have been sitting stagnant for the last 4 or 5 months since the market had changed from those COVID peaks. And now we're starting to see sellers change their pricing strategy between 10 to 15%, lowering their prices, ready to meet the market. And we're going to start to see those transactions lift in those particular areas. And I'm really excited for it because it means that we can get back to some normality in transactional real estate within those areas. But the thing that's going to continue is obviously interest rate rises. And I kind of mentioned this in last week's video, but buyers at the moment, you've got to remember that every 0.5% for the average borrower, that's a 10% reduction in borrowing power. Now, what we have found is that there's been 2.5% off the top of my head, or more than that, more than 2.5% rise, which means the borrowing power of some has dropped substantially. But in that 2.5%, the markets that I'm selling, the maximum I've seen drop is 15%. And that is a lot less than the drop in borrowing power from buyers out there. So if you're a buyer wanting to get into a specific area or a property with certain features, whether it's a pool, it's solar power, multiple living spaces, or in a certain catchment area or location like Gainsborough Greens or Calypso Bay or Riverlinks or wherever it is on the Gold Coast, Coomera Waters that you prefer to be in, the opportunity to buy is now. Another 0.5% could potentially push you out of that area, which means you've then got to look at or potentially miss out on certain features or areas that you're looking at, right? So yes, even if the market does drop, it's not dropping as fast as your borrowing power is dropping for finance buyers right now. So the opportunity is there right now. Get in the area, ride the wave or the cycle that it's known as within real estate, because we know that real estate and stock markets and all investments have a trend of going up and down and up and down. But over the long run, throughout all the up and downs, we continue to see this trend of going up, right? And I don't see that changing. I mean, right now, Queensland especially is the hotspot for tourism. We're getting more spending here from tourists than anywhere else in the country. We've got more spend coming for infrastructure than ever before, and that hasn't even kicked off. I mean, we've got the Coomera Connector hasn't kicked off yet. That's 12 years of work, really. Obviously, we've got things like the Olympics coming, which is going to bring a ton of building and construction, especially around the Gabba and around Brisbane, and that's going to force people to move to this area. And we know with the rental crisis at the moment and the housing shortage, unless they can find thousands and thousands of blocks around the Gold Coast and Brisbane right now, which we know isn't that easy as a developer at the moment, not only finding the blocks that you can subdivide and get approved, but then finding tradesmen and earth movers and all these people that actually can I guess, get people into those properties in a timely manner isn't available as well. The other interesting part of all this is those that have been wanting to build, a lot of them are now crashing their contracts because with this change in the market, we've got building costs that are actually continuing to rise, but house prices, of course, have fallen. So the gap between buying existing or renovated to building or renovating is now very, very large, which brings the attractiveness back to existing homes on the market versus buying land and waiting 12, 18, 24 months for your build process to be complete. The finances of building is also much harder at the moment too, because banks are having to allow for such a shift within the costs and the changes and the risk, of course, of the builder no longer being able to finish your project. There's so many things they've got to take into account. So I genuinely do believe if you're buying real estate right now, it is a great opportunity. And obviously, I'm a genuine believer that any market is a good opportunity to buy real estate because real estate's a long-term investment in my books, but everyone's different in their lifestyle choices. But at the end of the day, if you're buying property and you're waiting for the bottom, unfortunately, I don't think you'll ever talk to anyone that's picked the bottom. There's few that have gotten lucky. I mean, I've sold some properties earlier during this peak, and I speak to those owners now, and they look back and they go, far out. We got so lucky that we sold then. Or buyers that bought 2-3 years ago go, far out. How lucky was that we bought at that time? Look at what's happened now. But no one have I ever spoken to who's gone, I picked that in March 2019, we were going to see the bottom of the market before it went nuts during COVID. And no one you will ever talk to will be able to say that. So remember that if you're waiting and waiting and waiting, by the time you realize we've hit the bottom, the market's already back up again and you'll be paying a premium. If you're selling in this marketplace, look at the area you're selling in. There's still very low stock levels in most places. Waterfront in Helensvale is still quite low on stock at the moment. We know that Coomera Waters is still selling really well, and we've got a lack of stock in there. Calypso Bay does have a fair bit of stock on the market, but when we talk about reasonably priced homes, we've got a lot of buyers at the moment. In fact, I've got over 150 that I've been calling the last couple of weeks just in that estate, wanting to buy a home and just waiting for the right property to come up at a reasonable price based on what's happening in the marketplace. Gainsborough Greens has got next to nothing on the market at the moment in Pimpamore, and I've got buyers begging for properties in there, especially between that 750 to 850 mark, and a few of them in the nines as well that are willing to pay good money just to get into this estate. So if you are looking at selling, talk to your local real estate agent or give me a call. Happy to have a chat and let you know what's happening and when a good time to potentially hit the market, whether that's before Christmas or in January would be. But my number is 0407 760 435. Or send me a message or comment below and I'll be in touch. Have a good day, guys. Weather is beautiful outside. A bit windy out there at the moment, but the sun is gorgeous. Enjoy your weekend.